Okay, welcome to the room where we do our bubbly, our sparkling wine traditional method. How do you make the traditional method of sparkling wine? The same method that invented Dom Pérignon in the 17th century in France, which made the fortune of Champagne. You start by doing a white wine, you mix it, you bottle it. In the bottle you put some yeast and you put sugar. Yeast plus sugar means a second fermentation starts occurring. When you have the fermentation, you have production, sugar gets transformed into alcohol, and the yeast exhales carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide in the bottle does not give the bubble, it gives the potential for the bubble. The bubble will form when you uncork the bottle. So here, for example, you have a bottle with the yeast inside. You see how cloudy it is. This cannot be consumed this way. We keep it for, well, now we started keeping it for 36 months. The longer you keep it, generally the better it is, but not always. As always with wine, it depends. The shorter you keep it, the fruitier the wine is. The longer you keep it, the more you get notes of toasted notes, of baked bread, that sort of... the bubble remains more persistent the more you keep it on yeast. So we keep it for 36 months, after which we have to get rid of all this yeast inside the bottle. So that's where the riddling comes in. This is what is called a pupitre in French. In the old days, you had a specialized master that you would put all these bottles, you would have a wall of bottles all head down, and a specialized worker would come and riddle the bottles in a special move to get all the yeast inside the neck of the bottle, and most important of all, to remove the yeast from inside the walls of the bottle, because the yeast tends to stick. So you have to, it was done for a period of a couple of weeks. They would come one day, they would turn it an eighth of a circle and push it down, and gradually the yeast, then the next day would be the other way around, then it would be a quarter of a circle. That was a whole ritual. After which you would end up with all the yeast inside the neck of the bottle. They would open the bottle, get rid of the yeast, put the liqueur. The liqueur basically is a certain dosage of sugar to define whether you want an extra brut, sec, demi-sec, dry, semi-dry. The more sugar you put, of course, the less dry it is. And then after that, there would be the actual cork, cage, label, capsule, ready to be drunk. So these are the bottles that you see here. These are the bottles that are aging. They're doing their 36 months. One question that one wants to ask is, why do we do sparkling wine here in the Di Marzo estate? We started doing it, the first time we did it was in 1926. Why? At the end of the 19th century, there was a very unpleasant thing that happened in all European viticulture. It's called the phylloxera, which was an insect that was brought from the US, I'm afraid to say, from America. And this insect arrived in France at the end of the 19th century. It gradually spread throughout all of Europe, which killed the plants. The larva of the phylloxera goes into the ground, digs a hole inside the roots of the vines, and basically kills the plant. We still haven't found a solution. We just found a remedy for the time being. It's been going on for practically 100 years, which is using American rootstocks. That's why we graft American vines, European vines on American roots, because the American vine co-evolved with the phylloxera. So it's basically has a, I won't get into details, it manages to resist the larvas. It sort of makes sort of coating inside of the larva, and the root can coexist easily. So, end of the 19th century, French viticulture was on its knees, and they were buying a lot of wine from Italy, basically for local consumption, and including champagne. They will never admit it, even under torture, but we did sell wine to Champagne at the beginning of the 20th century, because phylloxera arrived in southern Italy much later. It arrived more or less in the 20s. So we had contacts with French producers, and we had the idea, why not make a sparkling Greco di Tufo. Our variety has a high acidity, very fresh. It would be beautiful, and that was a very good bet. And so here you can see a few tools of the time. This machine that you see here is a disgorging machine. As I explained previously, to get rid of the yeast inside the bottle, I said you could uncap the bottle. Another method that we use, which is a bit safer, we take the neck of the bottle and we freeze it, which is the way it's done nowadays. It's immersed into a solution at minus 20 degrees Celsius. The neck freezes. After that, you can just uncork it, and this cork of ice shoots out. This cork of ice and yeast shoots out. So it's a much cleaner method. And this is an old machine which allowed you to freeze the neck of the bottle. So here you have a liquid nitrogen reservoir which froze the neck of the bottle, after which you uncorked it, the ice flew out, you put it in this machine where you added, as I said previously, the liqueur, this solution of wine and sugar to determine the dryness of your sparkling wine, after which at the end, the cage on top of the cork, after it was corked, you sort of twisted this iron cage to keep the cork inside the bottle. So here, we're in one of the rooms of the winery. There's another little surprise that I want to show you under these things. One day we were doing some works and we heard a hollow sound. So Giuseppe, one of the fundamental president of the winery, just gave a blow here, and we discovered another room like this one, which had been hidden for, well, probably quite a few centuries. So this explains what? Cantina di Marzo here in this winery, it's not that Scipione arrived in 1647 or 48, took a pickaxe and started digging. Here we are in the military tunnels of the walls, of the fortified walls of the village. So they started digging these things in, when was it, Norman times, so around the 10th, 11th century probably. No, I'd say 12th century. And they kept on digging, closing, opening new ones. This lasted more or less until the 18th century. Over here on the walls, if you want to show our viewers, these are the traces of the chisels that were used to dig the gallery, the tunnels. This is sandstone. Let's not forget that this is the prehistoric seabed. It's a quite tender stone. It's easy to dig. And in the Middle Ages they used these sorts, it wasn't really a pickaxe, it was more like a chisel on one side and a hammer on the other. It was smaller and it was very easy to dig. And also this allowed you to use the material to build houses and things like that.